Good morning, everyone. Today we celebrate strength, intelligence, and intentional living. In a world that constantly challenges women to prove their worth, the smart woman doesn't just survive, she thrives. She isn't defined by external validation, but by internal standards and clear boundaries. She's focused, fearless, and forward-thinking. So, what sets her apart? What makes her walk with confidence, speak with clarity, and act with purpose? She follows 7 unshakable rules. These are not just habits, but principles, lived, learned, and loved. Let me share them with you. A smart woman understands that the greatest investment she will ever make is not in a relationship, a job, or even a business. It's in herself. She knows that personal development is the foundation for every success she hopes to achieve. Whether it's mental, emotional, financial, or physical growth, she treats self-investment not as a luxury, but as a responsibility. She reads not just for leisure, but to expand her thinking. She listens to podcasts, attends workshops, signs up for online courses, and surrounds herself with people who challenge her to grow. She isn't waiting for someone to hand her opportunities. She's building the skills to create them herself. Investing in herself also means knowing when to rest, when to say no, and when to reset. She doesn't wear burnout as a badge of honor. Instead, she understands the importance of well-being because clarity, focus, and performance are all rooted in a healthy mind and body. Financially, she educates herself. She knows where her money is going, builds savings, and learns about investing. She doesn't leave her financial future to chance or dependency. Whether she earns a little or a lot, she manages it with wisdom because she's planning not just for today, but for years to come. Emotionally, she does the inner work. She confronts her fears, heals from her past, and learns how to handle adversity with grace. She doesn't blame others for her setbacks. She takes accountability and grows stronger from every experience. A smart woman knows that when she invests in herself, everything else, relationships, career, self-worth, naturally starts to align. She becomes magnetic, not because she tries to impress, but because she embodies growth, self-respect, and confidence from the inside out. A smart woman understands that boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges to self-respect, peace, and authentic relationships. She knows that protecting her energy, time, and mental health is not just important, it's essential. She doesn't wait for others to treat her well. She teaches them how to do it by setting clear and consistent limits. She has learned, sometimes the hard way, that being too available, too accommodating, or too eager to please leads to burnout, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. So she chooses a different path, the path of self-honoring limits. She no longer feels guilty for saying no because she realizes that every time she says yes to something that doesn't serve her, she's saying no to herself. Whether it's in her personal life or professional world, she draws lines with clarity and confidence. She does not entertain one-sided friendships, manipulative partners, or toxic work environments. When someone consistently disrespects her time, belittles her dreams, or drains her emotionally, she doesn't explain herself endlessly. She enforces her boundary and walks away if needed. She also knows that boundaries aren't about being cold or distant. They're about being intentional. In fact, they allow her to show up more fully and genuinely in the spaces that truly matter. When she protects her peace, she can love more deeply, work more creatively, and live more freely. Setting boundaries means she is no longer a slave to other people's expectations. She doesn't overextend herself to be liked or stretch herself thin to avoid conflict. Her decisions are not based on fear of rejection or the need for approval. They're based on her values and priorities, and she doesn't apologize for it. She may have once thought that being a good woman meant always being available, agreeable, and self-sacrificing, but now she knows better. Being a smart woman means being kind, not compliant, being compassionate, not codependent. Her boundaries are not walls, they are doors, and only those who knock with respect get to enter her space. A smart woman understands that the people she allows into her life have the power to influence her mindset, motivation, and overall direction. She knows that energy is contagious and that not everyone deserves access to her. That's why she's intentional, sometimes ruthlessly so, about who she keeps close. She no longer entertains relationships out of guilt, history, or obligation. Just because someone has been in her life for a long time doesn't mean they still belong in her present. She's learned to evaluate relationships not by their duration, but by their quality. Does this person encourage her, challenge her, support her growth? If not, she's willing to let go with grace. Smart women don't chase popularity, they seek authenticity. They understand the difference between people who clap when they win and people who secretly compete with them, between those who give constructive feedback and those who only offer criticism disguised as concern. She's not afraid to walk alone if it means walking away from fake friends, negative influences, or those who drain her spirit. She surrounds herself with people who are going somewhere, individuals with vision, discipline, and heart. Women who support each other's wins without insecurity. Friends who call her out, not just cheer her on. Mentors who push her forward, not hold her back. She wants iron to sharpen iron, not plastic to echo her flaws. In her inner circle, there's mutual respect, shared values, and healthy boundaries. Gossip, envy, and betrayal have no place. She seeks environments where she can be both celebrated and corrected, where growth is welcomed, not feared. These are the spaces where her brilliance expands rather than dims. She also understands the importance of emotional safety. In her circle, vulnerability is met with compassion, not judgment. Mistakes aren't weaponized, successes aren't minimized. She can show up as her full self, ambitious, flawed, evolving, and still be seen, heard, and supported. A smart woman knows that who she chooses to walk with will either strengthen her stride or slow her down, so she chooses wisely. Because her future is too valuable to surround herself with people who don't align with it. A smart woman is guided by her core values, not by convenience, peer pressure, or temporary emotion. She doesn't twist herself into shapes to fit into spaces that were never meant for her. She knows exactly who she is, what she believes in, and what she stands for, and she refuses to betray that no matter the cost. Her values are her compass. In a world that constantly tries to sway her with trends, temptations, or shortcuts, she remains anchored in integrity. She won't trade honesty for acceptance, authenticity for popularity, or self-respect for approval. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs her opportunities or relationships, she chooses to stay aligned with her principles. She understands that true confidence doesn't come from applause, but from inner alignment. When her actions match her values, she sleeps peacefully at night. She's not haunted by regrets, fake personas, or decisions made to please others. She lives honestly with herself and with others. This doesn't mean she's inflexible or arrogant. It means she has clarity. She's open-minded, yes, but not so open that she abandons her truth. She's compassionate, but not easily manipulated. She's discerning, knowing that not everything labeled success is worth pursuing if it means betraying her beliefs. In relationships, she doesn't tolerate lies, disrespect, or emotional games. She seeks honesty, loyalty, and kindness. She would rather walk away from someone she loves than stay in something that forces her to shrink, settle, or stray from what she knows is right. In her career, she's not seduced by power or prestige if it comes with a cost to her ethics. She turns down roles, deals, and offers that don't sit well with her spirit. She'd rather build slowly and honestly than rise fast and falsely. And when faced with difficult decisions, ones where the easy choice tempts her to compromise, she pauses and asks, does this align with who I truly am? If the answer is no, she doesn't do it. Not because it's easy, but because she knows that compromising her values for temporary comfort leads to long-term regret. She doesn't need everyone to agree with her. She doesn't need to explain herself to those who misunderstand her. Her sense of self is not up for negotiation. Her values are not a fashion statement, they're her foundation. A smart woman knows that her emotions are powerful, but she is more powerful. She doesn't suppress them, ignore them, or let them control her. Instead, she learns to understand her emotions, process them, and respond with intention. She understands that emotional maturity is not about being emotionless, it's about being emotionally intelligent. She doesn't react impulsively in the heat of the moment. She takes a step back, breathes, and reflects before speaking or acting. She knows that a sharp tongue in a heated moment can damage relationships, reputations, and opportunities. So she chooses wisdom over impulse, control over chaos, thoughtfulness over rage. But make no mistake, she is not passive. She feels deeply. She gets angry, hurt, frustrated, and overwhelmed like anyone else. The difference is she doesn't let those feelings drive the car. She lets them sit in the passenger seat while she keeps her hands on the wheel. Her emotions are valid, but they don't get to lead. She also understands that avoiding her emotions is just as dangerous as being ruled by them. So she makes space for healing, she journals, she prays or meditates, she seeks therapy when needed or leans into trusted confidants who allow her to process without judgment. She doesn't numb herself with distractions or bury pain under productivity. She confronts her feelings because she knows that unprocessed emotions always find a way to resurface, often at the worst time and in the wrong way. Her emotional mastery shows up in how she handles criticism. She doesn't crumble under feedback, nor does she lash out defensively. She listens with discernment. If it's constructive, she grows. If it's toxic, she discards it without letting it poison her self-worth. It also shows in how she handles conflict. She doesn't argue to win. She communicates to understand. She can stand her ground without shouting. She can disagree without disrespect. She doesn't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. And she doesn't burn bridges just to prove a point. Perhaps most importantly, she has compassion for herself and others. She's patient with her own healing and growth. She understands that everyone is fighting internal battles the world can't see. This empathy gives her strength, not weakness. It allows her to forgive, let go, and move forward without being weighed down by bitterness. A smart woman is not emotionless. She's emotionally disciplined. And that's a form of power many never learn to master. A smart woman is not moved by the crowd. She is moved by her calling. She doesn't live for likes, applause, or fleeting approval. Her decisions are driven by purpose, not performance. While others chase trends and validation, She walks a different path, one defined by meaning, intention, and long-term vision. She understands that popularity is loud, but purpose is steady. Popularity can be bought, manipulated, or faked. Purpose, on the other hand, requires clarity, courage, and conviction. It demands sacrifice and discipline, and she's willing to pay the price because she knows the reward is deeper fulfillment, not just surface recognition. She's not afraid to be misunderstood, especially when doing what's right doesn't look glamorous. She's not here to please everyone. She's here to live truthfully. If that means standing alone, she stands tall. If that means saying no to the crowd to say yes to herself, she does so without hesitation. She doesn't jump on every bandwagon or bend her identity to fit what's trending. Her presence doesn't depend on the spotlight, it depends on her substance. She's more concerned with being respected than being liked, with building something real rather than appearing successful. She knows that some of the most admired people in history weren't liked by everyone, but they were impactful because they stayed true to their mission. In her career, she chooses work that aligns with her values over flashy titles that don't fulfill her. In her friendships and relationships, she values depth over display. She's not obsessed with looking happy for the outside world. She's committed to being fulfilled from the inside. That's a very different kind of success. She also understands that popularity is unpredictable. It rises and fades. One minute you're trending, the next you're forgotten. But purpose is timeless. It doesn't depend on approval. It doesn't fade with the season. It grows with you, evolves with you, and anchors you when everything else feels uncertain. She doesn't fear being different. She honors it. Her dreams might not make sense to everyone. Her values might make others uncomfortable, but she's okay with that because she knows the life she's building isn't based on outside noise. It's built on deep personal conviction. A smart woman doesn't wake up asking, how can I be seen today? She asks, how can I make an impact today? And in that quiet question lies the foundation of a truly remarkable life. A smart woman has done the inner work to understand her value, and she refuses to negotiate it. Her worth is not determined by her relationship status, her job title, her appearance, or how much attention she receives. It's rooted in who she is, her character, her resilience, her intelligence, her heart, and her uniqueness. She knows that she is not here to prove herself to the world. She is here to honor herself unapologetically. She has learned, often through experience, that settling doesn't just cost time, it costs dignity, peace, and self-trust. She remembers the moments she accepted less than she deserved and how that made her feel small, drained, disconnected from herself. And because of that, she made a powerful decision: never again. She doesn't settle in love. She's not impressed by empty promises, surface charm, or status. She looks for consistency, respect, emotional safety, and shared values. She would rather be alone and fulfilled than accompanied and unappreciated. Her self-worth doesn't need to be validated by someone else's presence. She doesn't chase, she attracts. And if someone cannot meet her with the same energy, effort, and emotional maturity she brings to the table, she walks away without regret. In her career, she doesn't accept roles that diminish her talents or ignore her potential. She doesn't remain in environments that underpay, undervalue, or undermine her. She advocates for herself, asks for what she deserves, and doesn't let fear of being difficult stop her from demanding fairness. She knows that being easy to work with doesn't mean being easy to take advantage of. She also doesn't settle in how she treats herself. She doesn't tolerate negative self-talk, overextending herself to the point of burnout, or shrinking her voice to avoid discomfort. She holds herself to a standard of self-respect. She sets goals, works toward them, and pushes herself to grow, not because she feels unworthy as she is, but because she honors who she is becoming. And when setbacks come, and they do, she doesn't question her worth. She may feel pain, frustration, or disappointment, but she never lets failure define her identity. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" she asks, "What's this teaching me?" Because she knows her worth isn't conditional. It's constant. She's not arrogant. She's aware. Aware of her gifts, aware of her limits, aware of the difference between humility and self-neglect. She understands that you can be grounded and still have high standards, that you can be kind and still be firm. Settling for her is simply no longer an option. Not because she thinks she's better than anyone else, but because she finally knows she deserves better for herself. A smart woman isn't perfect. She's intentional. She doesn't have all the answers, but she asks the right questions. She falls, but she gets back up with more wisdom. She doesn't chase titles, trends, or approval. She builds a life of substance, purpose, and peace. She lives by standards, not pressure. She leads with grace, not fear. And most importantly, she knows that her power isn't in how loudly she speaks, but in how boldly she lives. So whether she's walking into a boardroom, building a business, raising a family, healing from heartbreak, or starting over, she carries herself with the quiet strength of someone who knows exactly who she is and what she deserves. Because smart women don't just follow rules, they become the example.